Most of the federations I backyard wrestled for ran for years and built up their own reputations. But one federation never quite got off the ground, and it was almost where my backyard wrestling career ended. CCW had folded in August of 2005, and for us, we thought that our backyard wrestling days were done. 8 months later, I was approached by my friend Carlos, who was planning on starting his own backyard wrestling federation and wanted to know if I was interested. I still had the itch, but was kinda over the politics and drama that came with being a booker and running a fed. So the idea of just being a wrestler and letting someone else handle that aspect was very appealing. OCWF, the Omega Championship Wrestling Federation, ran their first show in April of 2006. And almost immediately, my hopes of being free from drama were dashed. Carlos was inexperienced, especially compared to the rest of us. 3 years prior to this, he ran a fed called XWF, which was made up of mostly his friends from school. The only actual wrestlers he had were the Grimm and myself. And after a handful of shows, he lost interest and moved on to something else. Carlos was around sporadically for CCW, but in those 3 years, not much had changed. At that first show, we asked him what the card was so we could start working on our matches. But he didn't know what he wanted to do. He had no plan whatsoever. He was more occupied with assembling a curtain he put together with PVC pipes he got at the hardware store.
Oh, that's irony.
We don't need no curtain, we do this old school stuff.
We waited and waited and waited for him to make up his mind about what he wanted to do, and when he couldn't decide, some of the wrestlers left. The only 3 who stayed were myself, Nappy, and the Trailer Park Gangsta. So I took the reins and booked a card. I booked a 2 out of 3 falls match with myself and the TPG, with the first fall being a normal match, the second fall being a submission match, and the third fall being a triple threat with Nappy.
Okay, I've been working like 3 jobs. Probably why I never see ya. Probably why I never have time for the fake friends. I won't be ya. Oh God, I've been running now. Up early when the sun is out. Not setting out my own soul, but those real ones, they coming out. Oh, look who's reaching out. Old friends wanna feature now. They don't work, so they need it free. Ooh, you reaching out from the west side of that old town, but there's no show. Till I go down to the open mic, show love to the real ones they know now. Some of y'all don't know now. In a couple months, you're gonna find out. Been blowing up from the underground, and they stepping on the landmine now.
We all were very frustrated about how this show had gone, and we all were just kind of feeling like we came out of retirement for this. There's a saying, you're only as good as your last match. And this was not the note we wanted to go out on. In June, OCWF ran their second show. This time things were running a lot smoother. The main event saw Nappy and Kid Crush team up to take on myself and TPG. Nappy and Kid Crush were usually feuding, so having them team up was something we hadn't done before, and it gave the match an energy that was lacking from that first show. We also got the Grimm to return, who hadn't been seen since 2004. He had lost his trademark mask though, so we decided to just roll with it and update his gimmick.
The Grimm! No mask anymore! I'll show my pain! I'll show my pain! The Grimm! My pain's here! You want the pain? Look for the moon inside. We're told 1,000 times. Our ritual is to provide. With gloves we sacrifice. Our spaceship split tonight. The crowd enjoys what should be free.
even though this show was a huge improvement over the first, we still didn't have a lot of faith in Carlos's ability to see this out long term. These shows did start to get our creative energies going, though, and there was a fear that our careers could very well end on someone else's terms. So Xavier Lascano and I started talking about reviving a federation he ran back in 2001 when we first met, AWF. AWF was a chance for us to take our careers back and put our fates in our own hands again. AWF and OCWF actually ran simultaneously for a while, and that helped alleviate a lot of the frustrations we might have had with how Carlos was running things. In August of that year, OCWF ran another show that was totally thrown together. We all got booked to wrestle double duty, so we decided to bring back our masked mid-carder gimmicks from back in the day to at least switch things up. Nappy and TPG were the main event, and it was clear that really the only plans Carlos had was positioning Nappy to be his top guy. He was even discussing having Nappy be his first champion once he got around to introducing the title. Unfortunately, that never happened. This would end up being OCWF's last show. Carlos just kinda lost interest again and the whole thing fizzled out. Thankfully, AWF was still going, otherwise it's very conceivable that our backyard wrestling careers could have ended here. AWF ran for about a year. PWL ran for 4 years. CCW for 2. RCW was around for years and years before I ever got there. But OCWF lasted just 4 months. It had a lot of potential. It came at a time when YouTube was first taking off, which was a level of exposure not available to us before. But unfortunately, it also came at a time when we were experienced enough to need direction and leadership in order to make it worthwhile. And while I'm still friends with Carlos today, at that time those were just skills that he lacked. AWF wouldn't have existed without OCWF though, and so despite its flaws, it's still responsible for extending our careers by another few years. Nappy winning his second world title, Poe's epic return, that sick finisher I used to do, the Grim getting to close out his career on a high note, none of that happens without OCWF. And for that, it deserves its flowers.